Thank you. I call this meeting of the Rotary Club of Oakland to order. I'm Dudley Thompson, and I have the honor to serve as the president of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Founded in 1908, we're the third established Rotary Club of some 36,000 clubs in over 200 countries around the world. We're a diverse community of some 270 local business, community, and professional leaders who unite to improve local and international communities through a common commitment of service above self. For over 113 years, we've welcomed Rotarians and our guests to club meetings, and I welcome you to this, our 5,392nd meeting. For those of you attending online, if you're a visiting Rotarian or the guest of a Rotarian, please enter your name in the chat box. It's located in the center of the bottom of your screen so that we can recognize you in a few minutes. If you have comments or want to ask a question of the speaker, please use the chat box. We also recommend that you view today's meeting using Speaker View. It's located in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. For those of you here in the California Ballroom, I will ask that you not use your electronic device to watch the meeting on Zoom or else to connect to the ballroom Wi-Fi. For the near future, our club protocol will require that you wear a mask inside if you are not, the term is, actively eating or drinking. Those are the rules. We are trying to make this space as safe as possible for our members and guests while still having a great meeting. I also ask that you refrain from talking during the meeting, as the sound becomes background noise for our online broadcast. Sean Marx, past President Sean Marx, would you come up here and, I know you've got one thought today. One thought. Would you share it with us?
Thank you, President Dudley. Fellow Rotarians. So tonight I will complete a 200-hour yoga certification to be a yoga instructor. So my first thought for the day is around that. So part of it is studying of philosophy that is the foundation of yoga. And so the 8-limb path of yoga has a concept that is probably the most important of all concepts. And if you follow this rule in life, it would make the world a better place. And that is ahisma. Let me get it pronounced. Ahisma. Ahisma. Actually, I got one wrong out of 55. So ahisma means non-harming. And the reason I think that's important today is what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on with automatic weapons and the massacres around our country, and finally, what's going on with the woman's right to choose. If we all follow ahisma, non-harming, the world would be a much better place. Second announcement. Tonight is the 23rd annual Boys and Girls Club of Oakland Salute to You. I have had the responsibility of putting together this year. Super fun. It's a all kid run event. It goes about 25 minutes. Tune in, make a donation, and enjoy Oakland's best kids. Thank you.
So for a thought for the day, I know it's going to cost him some money for shamelessly promoting his yoga business and shamelessly promoting the Boys and Girls Club. And since this is my last meeting, I don't want to hear anything from any of you that somebody came up here and shamelessly promoted. So thank you. Thank you. Sean rings the bell. Okay, let's go to our Rotary International Vision Statement. Can you bring that up for us? Well, I'm going to get started here. Please join me. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Jim Bosenecker. I know we have some visiting Rotarians today. Would you please introduce them? And if anybody else in the room has a guest, would you please be ready to introduce your guests? Jim? Nope, we don't have sound yet. We're getting there. There we go. I think I hear it bumping.
Hello, hello, testing.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll just talk loud. So we have two visiting Rotarians. First, Roger Inverarity. Did I get that right, Roger? I did. And you can tell from his accent. Oh, sorry. We've got accents, he doesn't. He's from Australia, Adelaide, Australia. He's a retired engineer, so let's welcome Roger Inverarity. And also, Michelle Ingram from Alameda, retired from high tech. She's been here before, and she plans to be here again in the future.
Welcome, Michelle and Roger. Do we have other guests? I see Jason Wise. Oh. Okay, Fred, you want to start?
Thank you, President Dudley. I'd like to introduce my guest over here. Joshua Polston is, I forget what he is. He's head of the airport planning. What is it you do?
I work on Oakland Airport infrastructure.
Yay.
Okay.
So Joshua, Joshua, I hope the infrastructure works today. I'm flying out of there about 4 o'clock. Please kind of keep an eye on my plane.
All right, my friend.
Jason Weiselman.
Thanks, President Dudley. This is exciting. Raise your hand if you knew that Oakland had a professional ultimate Frisbee team. We got it. Jackson Stearns, the GM and also player on the team, is gracing us today. Jackson is coming from the Oakland Spiders. If you want to learn more, oaklandspiders.com. Incredible. We have another professional team to combat the A's. This is exciting. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Welcome, Joshua. Do we have any other guests in the room? Okay, Ed Jellin, past president, past district governor Ed Jellin out there. I see you. Do we have any visiting Rotarians or guests?
Yes, indeed we do, President Dudley.
First time I've ever heard you silent, Ed. Hold on a moment. No,
I'm not muted. Hello?
Yep, we heard you there. Go ahead.
All right, indeed we do have a guest here, President Dudley, someone you might know quite well. Her name is Concha Delgado, which we welcome to our meeting, your spouse, and we're very happy to have her here.
Thank you, Ed. So as some of you remember, the first meeting I forgot to introduce my wife. I asked her to come today so I could make sure that she got introduced. Welcome, Concha, and I think she'll be here next week, but I don't get to do the introductions then. So anyway, welcome. Okay, what do we got up here next? Keith Uriarte and Rika White Sosa. Would you please come up here? Up here, yes. Here. Yes. I'm going to get a spotlight.
Okay. President leaves the meeting. All right. So today it is my pleasure to introduce Rika White Sosa as our newest member of Oakland Rotary. Nancy Williams is Rika's sponsor, but Nancy is out of town and wants Rika's induction to move forward. Rika is a licensed clinical social worker with a master's in social work. She is in private practice known as the FLW Living Well Services. Her focus is in community health issues, including interpersonal violence, health disparities, health and wellness foster and transitional age advocacy and public service. A few personal notes about Rika. Rika was a member of the Oakland Public Ethics Commission. She was in the documentary The Waiting Room, which is now on YouTube. And Rika is an avid collector of Marvin Gaye memorabilia. Yeah. So please join me and welcome Rika to Oakland Rotary.
No, wait. Okay, Rika, we are happy that you have chosen to join us. Know that your family and friends are always welcome to come to our meetings or our service projects or our events. By choosing to join us, you've accepted the Rotary vision, and you also agree to conduct your affairs in accordance with the four-way test. And to remind you of that, we have a framed copy. There we go. I think it may be being put up on screen too. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? I think even in Australia we follow the four-way test. In fact, many of us have it hanging on our office walls, and I was at a district meeting last night in Derique in Fremont, and they have it framed about that large in their conference room. So it's something that we take to heart in our organization. Your red badge indicates your new status as a Rotarian, and you'll find out your instructions how to get your blue badge. You'll receive a manual in here called Rotary Made Easy that includes basic information about our club, and also there's a history of the first 100 years of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Your Rotary pin I saw it. I know it's there. Please wear your pin, wear it with pride, and you'll be recognized many places by other Rotarians. Your commitment is to attend meetings, participate in service activities, practice service above self, and contribute to the Rotary Foundation and the Oakland Rotary Endowment. It's my great pleasure and privilege to induct you as our newest member of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Please give our newest member a round of applause. This is yours. Okay. Bruce Nye, would you please come up here? We had David Kittner up here a couple weeks ago sharing with us what happened with the Community Service Committee this year, and Bruce is our incoming chair and would like to, I'll just let you do the talking, Bruce. You're an attorney, you do it well.
Good afternoon, Oakland Rotarians, and fortunately I'm a retired attorney, so I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. As you may have heard, I have served since 2019 as the secretary of the Community Service Committee, which you heard so much great stuff about from David, and if you were participated here or online, you got to hear him talk about the amazing things that have been done in terms of grants in the past year or so. That's been very rewarding for members of the communities, or pardon me, of the committee. We review grant applications. We go out and suggest them to nonprofit entities doing great stuff for the town of Oakland also, and submit the grant applications to the two boards of Oakland Rotary, and they, generally speaking, positively follow our recommendations. As President Dudley just pointed out, I've been talked into becoming the chair of the committee when David leaves after quite a number of years, and I'll be starting doing that at our meeting in August. As you may know, our meetings are basically the first Monday of the month, so I'll be doing that beginning on the first Monday of August. There are 38 members right now of the Community Service Committee, but the attendance has been often as low as 7 or 11 or sometime up to 12 or 13, and the highest only once that I can see, at least since I've been the secretary and involved in the count, has been 15. Ever since the pandemic, of course, the meetings have been held at Zoom. I'm hopeful that sometime in the months ahead, some meetings will be held in person, just as they are here to individuals with proof of vaccination and wearing masks, but Zoom will also be an option as it is for this. We really could use, and really the community would benefit if we had some new committee members willing to attend on a monthly basis and get involved with the rewarding grant application process. It'll really make you feel good if you decide to do it. We could also use either existing or new committee members willing to act, or a member willing to act as the new committee secretary, since I won't be doing that anymore, since I'll be chairing the committee meetings. I'll tell you this, it's not very hard. If somebody is willing to be the secretary, I can work with you on the easy way to make it happen, and would be happy to do that, and certainly would would review all of the draft minutes so we can make sure that they're all in agreement. There's been a member of the committee who's been very good and helpful at doing that for me, and I'm willing to do it when I become chair to help the next person who's doing those. And so it would be good to have new committee members, and it would be great to have a secretary, and both of those things would be very, very rewarding, I can assure you, for anybody who was willing at all to do it. If you are willing to join the committee or investigate being a secretary, I'm going to give you my email address and my phone number, which are also, of course, available on the Oakland Rotary website. But if you want them, because you didn't write them down right now and are willing to contact me through them, by all means, come see me right after the meeting is over. I'll stick around for a little bit. My email address is bruce.nye@gmail.com. That one ain't too hard. And my phone number is, since it was my cell phone number when I was in San Francisco, it's 415-577-9453. I hope to hear from some members of Oakland Rotary about joining the committee and or about being the secretary. So thanks very much. I hope to see new participants very soon.
Thank you, Bruce.
My pleasure.
Okay. So the past few weeks, people have been calling to my attention that my year as the president of Rotary is coming to an end. And they ask me how I feel about it. Thank you for doing that. I usually stutter and stammer a little bit, but I respond that right now, actually, most of what I think about is what I've not done and what I can still do in these next 8 days. Next week, I will sit silently in the corner over there and listen to how past presidents assess my personality and how I performed. But last night, I went through the board minutes for the last year and the calendar to try to jog my memory. And before I hammer the bell for the last time today, I would like to share with you a few thoughts. A few years ago, Rotary International hired a consulting group to determine one word that would describe the organization. The conclusion was they could not settle on one word, but rather two. It was relationships and service. I totally agree, but I will just use one word today: people. Ordinary people that together do extraordinary things. Ordinary people that together do extraordinary things. 11 months ago, I said there were three things ahead for this year. One, bringing the club back together in person and healing relationships after a period of separation. Secondly, reminding us that Rotary is the best service organization in the world. And thirdly, convincing you to become fully engaged and inviting others to join us in this mission. We stumbled a bit coming back together for regular meetings here in the ballroom. We started out well the first few months, but then we faced a surge of infections. And around the middle of December, we went back to Zoom. You know, we were off for January and February only on Zoom, and then we came back together again for March and April. And then we got another surge, and we went back to Zoom. And this month, we finally came back together in the ballroom. I'm simply going to leave it at COVID is still with us, and so are hybrid meetings. I think hybrid meetings, it's not an issue of whether they're good or bad. We embrace them because they are the future. Before I go on, I want to say that I hope I say thank you enough. I realize I do not write enough notes, and I'm going to start thanking people here, and I know when one does this, I will miss acknowledging some of you. Please forgive me, but know that you're appreciated. I want to start with Jesse Bowdle. Often when somebody does this, Jesse gets mentioned last. Jesse isn't with us today because of COVID. He tested positive the other day. So it's just something that's happening to many of us along the way. Jesse's had a great year with us, and I think many of us, he's just the backbone of the organization. And having said that, with Jesse gone, we asked Pat Williams to come back in service. So thank you, Pat, for coming back and setting up the tables and doing what you've done so well for so many years. But what we've tried to do here is offer opportunities to come together for service and social engagement. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? We came together to offer service to our community. Daniel Chang and the Community Service Committee organized a cleanup day at Pal's Campground and a work day at Lake Merritt Gardens. Harold Blow and the Enterprise Institute took us back to the Pal's Campground for a training day for next year's Enterprise counselors. Karen Friedman stepped up again and put a crew together to pack 150 bags of food for students each week that we could do that at Laney College. We developed new relationships with the Oakland Chinatown Chamber of Commerce and also the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce this year. And most recently, in collaboration with the Rotary Club of San Francisco No. 2, the Rotary Club of San Francisco Chinatown, Asians United, the Oakland Police Department, and the Department of Justice, we did safety training and distributed some 500 safety alarms in Oakland Chinatown. And we thank President-elect Mary Jiang for helping lead that effort. Thank you, Mary. Remember last fall, Renea Webb got us collecting coats and gloves for Wheelo before Thanksgiving and Christmas. We put a team together to hand out water and concentrated Gatorade, remember that, concentrated Gatorade to runners during the Oakland Marathon. Some of them wouldn't have got across the line without us, I think. We started out with attending A's baseball games, and we have attended 3 in the past year, most of them with 100 people of our members and guests. Add to that the Roots soccer game we went to, and thank President-elect nominee Tom Lamone for pulling all those together. How about bicycling? I counted 6 organized bike rides from the easy peasy to the better do some workouts ahead of time type, and thanks Steve Blair and Mark Rosen for that. Mark also put together the kayaking trips to the Elkhorn Slough. We're now 2 legs in and 2 to go on the epic hike across the East Bay Hills, and thank Robert Kidd for that. The Business Development Committee, Membership Committee, and Entertainment Committee organized mixers at Keith Uriarte's, Nido's, Gio Terrazzo's, Kingston 11, Calavera Moxie, and a Warriors game on screen at the new Parkway. Thank Jesse Schmidt, David Kirsten, and Carla Betts and all their committees for doing that. Linda and Jim Bosenecker entertained new members at their home, and Pat Williams gave orientations for new members this year. Our Rotary District hosted the Train of Lights in the Niles Canyon during the holidays, and I think we had about 75 of our members go to that. Georgia Richardson and Nancy Williams followed that up with a viewing of Evolutionary Blues at the Grand Lake Theater. We sold some 350 tickets, and if you remember, the Grand Lake Theater was saying they'd really not had a crowd over 50 or 75 before we did that. That was a great event. And how about that gala? Tricia Connors and Carrie Hamill here, and their crew thanked them for a fantastic evening at the Sequoia Country Club. This is a great club, and we're part of a great organization. The past few weeks, I've asked some committees to come up here and share with you what they accomplished this year. You met 10 high school students receiving college scholarships. This is in addition to our ongoing Hope Mentee program. Thanks Steve Blair and Fred Morris and Teresa Wayan for leading those committees. Note that Teresa Wayan and Sandeepa Nayat attended the Rotary Leadership Program this year. That's a difficult program to get through. It's like attending a college course, taking time out of your day for a college course. Really going, it's like 5 assignments a month, and you do writing. It's a challenge, and Teresa and Sandeepa attended that this year. Greg Annis coordinated 4 high school Interact clubs and also our RILA leadership training program. David Kittner shared with us the grants made by community service. There were 13 grants ranging from $2,000 to $7,000 awarded to local nonprofit agencies in the area of social justice, the arts, and the environment. These are not large grants, but they make a difference in the mission of those programs. Last week, Barbara Beery and with Sean Marx as co-chair, reported on the work of the Carl Stuckey World Community Service Committee. We're one of the few clubs in the world that almost always sponsors 10 Rotary Foundation grants at a time, including Polio Plus. And we made 6 cash grants ranging from $1,500. Those global grants are a minimum of $30,000, and I think the one Peter Sheris is working on has raised well over $125,000. So those are large programs that committee's working with. But they also make cash grants ranging from $1,500 to $6,000. And finally, we made gifts of over $40,000 to Ukraine relief. What an effort, and again, Barbara and some of a friend of hers got this all started. Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, good job. One of my goals was to initiate an environment committee, and under the leadership of Joel Parrott, this committee is still in its initial stages, but focusing on how to mitigate climate change. More to come. We are committed to improve our awareness and make necessary changes in our organization and culture in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The DE&I committee is working with the board of directors and completing its initial stage with a report of the findings of our consultant and the club survey. Celeste Gordon has been chairing that committee along with Seth Butner as the representative of the board. I confess there's much I promised and is unfulfilled. I said we would get to 300 members. We inducted 33 this year. Thank you for being the 33rd new member. But we still were down a few this year. But I'm confident that there's a new culture in the membership committee with David Kirsten as chair, and hopefully Mary and Tom will see the results of that in the upcoming years. I still think we can get back to what Michael Brooks remembers as a 400-member club. That's not just a memory, but we're going to get there. We want to challenge Birmingham, Alabama. We can beat them. I've wanted to emphasize engagement in this report, but I also know that part of the job is fundraising, and we've had a very successful year. Under the leadership of Joe Garalka and Leanne Alameda, we raised over $160,000 for the annual fund for the Rotary Foundation. And that puts us 11th in the world of 36,000 clubs for the annual fund. Kim Johnson led the Oakland Rotary Endowment campaign and raised over $80,000. 25% of that goes toward our committee work next year, and 75% goes into the endowment. And the Community Service Committee raised over $50,000 in one day for Feed the Hungry, which will go to 7 local agencies. We'll go to 7 local agencies delivering food. And the gala, which I mentioned before, netted $125,000, which goes directly into next year's committee budget. The AV team, the meeting production team. I want to first thank Jack Isles and Sandeepa Nayak for holding this together for the first half of the year. Then Ralph Sklar stepped up in December and worked with Alex Polson and put together this new system. All right, we're getting there. I was with the two of you in my office when you put this together. But then Peter and I told you I'm going to miss people along here. Peter, Susie, Gabe, Tom has helped, Clyde has helped. Anyway, I'm going to miss people. I'm sorry. AV, you guys are great. And we would not have meetings here. I mean, I assure you, we would not have meetings without this committee. So please, their support is always appreciated. A couple things to the end here. President Support Committee, Jack McAvoy led that. Not many club members see that, but for a president, it's the critical group that gives you support and ideas and suggestions, is there for your ups and downs. And Jack, along with Ahmad, Carla, Michael Bruck, Lorna, Padilla Marcus, Alex, Diane Schaefer, David Douglas, Pat Williams, and Jason Weiselman, thank you so much for being there for me. And I want to thank those who served on the Board of Directors and the Board of Endowment Trustees whose terms are ending. Mary will introduce the next year's board in a couple meetings from now, but I want to recognize, first of all, Seth Butner, who was the immediate past president. I got to get used to that. I'm becoming one soon. Seth will be going off both the trustees and the board of directors, but then he was elected to the board of trustees, so he will become the new president of the board of endowment trustees. Steve Nichols, Debo Sarkar, and Jason Weiselman are going off of the board of directors, and Ahmad Anderson, Keith Jerome, Linda Chu, and Harold Lowe will be retiring from the board of endowment trustees. Thank you for your service leading this club. Finally, after going through a year of review as your president, I want to recognize somebody for the recipient of the Dan Lazar Good Job Award. Keith Uriarte, would you please come up? Come up here. So Keith, you get a garbage bag. Well, it's got one thing in it. We're getting to a time in our history where people no longer remember Dan Lazar. Dan died almost 20 years ago. He passed president of the club. Dan Lazar always thank people by saying, good job. It's gone through a few iterations of why we give this award, but it comes down to the president selects somebody who's really been there this year for the club in so many ways. Keith started off, he's been our membership coordinator, working with the membership committee, the membership orientation, entertainment, I'll go down that list, and really defined what a coordinator could be for the club. Keith has sponsored or introduced more people than anybody else this year. Keith has been involved with Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and communications. He shows up all the time, and occasionally it's speakers. So I think it's one of those things. I don't know much about Keith, but he's on the Zoom every time I turn it on, so I couldn't ignore him. So Keith, please take the Dan Lazar.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that's it. I guess we still have a speaker, don't we? CJ! I'm getting ready to do this. CJ, please introduce Lance, our speaker today.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Dudley. So I'd like to begin with a quote from comedian Gilbert Gottfried. Quote, "I have always felt comedy and tragedy are roommates. If you look up comedy and tragedy, you'll find a very old picture of two masks. One mask is tragedy. It looks like it's crying. The other mask is comedy. It looks like it's laughing. Nowadays, we would say, how tasteless and insensitive. A comedy mask is laughing at the tragedy mask. You could say that our speaker today, Lance McGee, aka Unique Derique, lives with these two roommates and appreciates them both. Today, he'll share the journey which led him to unlikely dual careers, that of a trauma-informed wellness counselor for teachers at an East Oakland middle school, and that of an internationally renowned clown. Clowning and counseling, humor and healing, this combination not only provides him personal balance, but allows him to more effectively help others. Lance's work has recently been featured in the LA Times and on MSNBC, while Derique has performed on the Disney Channel, PBS, on Broadway, and at both Berkeley and San Francisco's Marsh theaters. Please welcome Lance McGee and Unique Derique.
Been watching the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, right. Good afternoon, everyone. So nice to see you. And I just want to say thank you so much, CJ, for taking interest in my story and bringing that to light. And so I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful. Thank you, thank you. And thank you, President Dudley. Thank you for having me as well. Thank you so much. So let's see. If I can get my slides, well, I can see that one. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story, my journey, some humor and healing and how I've experienced it. So before I start, I want to share something that I do when I'm performing at birthday parties, when I'm giving talks, when I'm doing trainings around self-care, and I want to share that with you. When I started training in clowning, one of the exercises we did were fun faces. So everybody here today, I want to invite you to try this. Lift your eyebrows up really big. Just lift your eyebrows up. Good. Now keep the eyebrows up. And at the same time, make a big smile. Now you know how I feel. Good. Now keep the smiles up big, but bring the eyebrows down. Eyebrows come down, but you keep smiling. You pretend the sun is in your face and you're happy to be outside. Good. Keep the eyebrows down, and now bring the smiles down like you're frowning. Frowns are down. Eyebrows are down, making a clown sad face. Now just do this. Add the shoulders. Can you just go like this? Good. Good. Now look at somebody and say, foo la la, foo la la, foo la la, foo la la. Good. Keep the frowns down and bring the eyebrows back up, but the frowns stay down. Good. Keep the eyebrows up and bring the frowns back up to a smile. Good. And then if you want to try this, I know you're wearing a mask, just gently shake your cheeks like this. Good, good, good. Thank you for trying this, and thank you for laughing and just recognizing the humor and just being simple and silly. We were actually making the faces of happy and sorrow. You know something? I got confused here. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to ground in this moment because this is something that I do, and I'll say a little bit more as a trauma-informed wellness consultant at my school site. But I just want to give you a moment just to be present in a guided meditation or silent moment. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, just do a soft gaze looking down. The idea is not to be distracted by the environment. So I'm going to invite you to just slowly breathe in and breathe out at your own pace. Just noticing where you are, where you're sitting. Make sure there's a gentle softness on the face. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. As you slowly breathe into your lower diaphragm and breathe out, just following the breath. If the mind is wandering in thoughts, you can say thinking and return to the breath. No judgment, just a natural noticing. And in this mindful moment, I want to invite you to see in your mind's eye, imagine what will your self-care look like for the rest of the day? What kinds of things will you do to take care of yourself? How much water will you drink? Who will you check in on to make sure that they are doing okay? Self-care has many looks. What does yours look like? What kinds of things will you do for yourself? Breathing in and breathing out this idea of wellness for you. Next, in this moment, I'd like to invite you to open up the heart space of grace and gratitude and just take in for a moment, what are you grateful for that you have in your life and in the practice of taking nothing for granted? Maybe it's some of the simple things, having access to hot water, electricity, a roof over your head. Just some examples. What are you grateful for? Breathing in and breathing out this idea, gratefulness, gratitude. Lastly, I'd like to invite you to just repeat these words to yourself. May I be peaceful, healthy, and happy. May my peers and my friends be peaceful, healthy, and happy. May my family and my community and the whole world be peaceful, healthy, and happy. Thank you. You can open your eyes. Thank you, everybody that's here for the mindful moment. And thank you for all those that are on the Zoom call for taking care of yourself and just allowing just to be still and just focus on breathing. What a gift to yourself. And this is something that I do as a trauma-informed wellness consultant in my practice. And like I said, I'll share more about that in a few minutes. But I just want to talk a little bit about my journey. Home theater. My mother studying acting when she was going to UC Berkeley and teaching theater games and my brothers and I attending those classes and then meeting one of her coworkers who taught clowning for kids, and she was over our house and she saw me in the bedroom doing the robot with this thing on my head that plugged into the wall, and she thought it was really funny, and I was 15, and she invited me to take her clown class, and I never stopped. Thank you for that. What a wonderful offer. And I never stopped, and then from there, I grew into circus arts. I joined the Pickle Family Circus when I was 18 in San Francisco back in the early 80s, and worked in circus for about 4 or 5 years. And then I left the circus to pursue my solo career. While I was working with the Pickle Family Circus, I went to New College of California to get my bachelor's degree, and I did an independent study on circus arts while I was working with the circus. And then I studied blackface minstrels, learning about different types of buffoonery, clowning. And that really opened my eyes, and I was watching a lot of vaudeville, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and Burt Williams, one of the first African Americans who performed on Broadway in the early 1920s. And before he went to Broadway, he worked right here in San Francisco, street performing. These are people that I studied, watching them, being inspired by them to go forward, watching the late greats of the Nicholas brothers doing acrobatic tap dancing, because I was an acrobat in the circus. And doing this, studying circus, being exposed to vaudeville and doing a lot of research, that kind of informed the direction that I wanted to go in, that slapstick physical comedy. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to do that over these years. And as I'm getting older, got to make sure I can stay in shape to keep doing these things. And just having a lot of fun with that and learning and finding my way. And as I was finding my way, I was being asked to come to perform in Oakland back in the early 90s and the late 80s at the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame award ceremony that used to happen at the Paramount Theater. And I had the opportunity to go on and do my ham bone act before honoring Sammy Davis Jr. and having Mr. Davis come up to me backstage saying to me, "Hey man, you are one cool dude, you dig?" He didn't really say that, but he said, "I really enjoyed your performance. I want to shake your hand, and I want to work with you. I want to manage you." And that was so huge for me at that time in my early 20s, finding my way as an artist, figuring out how to go to LA and go to New York and do more work. Having those opportunities grew into, a few years later, Lou Rawls saw me somewhere and brought me to Vegas for 2 weeks to open for Lou Rawls. So I had these wonderful experiences where African American entertainers were recognizing the work that I was doing, which was quite unusual, to do the slapstick and do the juggling and doing ham bone body percussion. You don't see that much anymore, so I was being exposed. And I'm so grateful that I had those moments, and being backstage with Lou Rawls, and he'd always say, "Ain't nothing to it but to do it." And so having those moments with Mr. Lou Rawls and Mr. Sammy Davis Jr., I just carry that in my heart when I do this work, and it always told me that don't worry about what other people think of your craft. Because I do have to share, I'll share this with you. I don't say this too much, but I performed at the Apollo Theater. I was in a Broadway show, and I heard on the radio that the Apollo was auditioning for the talent show. It's Showtime at the Apollo. I auditioned for that. I got on the show. I did my ham bone act. I had a pianist play, and we were jamming. I was doing my ham bone act. And for those that don't know this, but ham bone is a way of playing your thighs and your chest, doing body percussion, right? Thank you. A little something, something. And I was doing the body percussion, and the whole audience started clapping. It got so loud, you couldn't even hear me anymore, hearing the acoustic percussion. Somebody started booing. And I'm thinking, I know Sandman Sims is over there. If this keeps going, he's going to come out with the cane and hook and bring me out. I'm like, no. So I ended my routine sooner, and I came back out to the finals. And with the finals, there was this wonderful singer, and a musician that played the flute. And Kiki, that would come out and put her hand over your head, over a person on my right, yeah! Here comes for me. Over me, the whole place. Boo, boo. And I'm smiling, going, thank you, thank you. And talk about the tears of the clown when no one else is around. Oh my gosh. But you know, those moments never stopped me because I was just doing what I enjoyed doing. You know, and it taught me something about the Apollo Theater. I know that if you're not like singing, hitting the high notes or doing the break dancing or, you know, telling certain kinds of jokes, that they didn't want to really see anything else, and I get that. And so performing, having those opportunities, it got to a point in my career as I was getting older and dealing with agents who were, you know, got me on the Arsenio Hall show and wanted to manage me, but they wanted to control the contract and wanted to take more money than I wanted to agree with, and then I got blackballed and I couldn't perform with other events. That I had a disillusion of trying to pursue big time. And I thought, okay, at some point I'm going to need to get some more tools here. So I went back to school. I'm in my 40s now, still performing throughout the Bay Area and sometimes traveling internationally. And I went back to school to get my degree as a drama therapist. When I heard about drama therapy, I thought, okay, there's got to be something there for me. And I went through the program, and I loved the program, but here's the thing. Here's what was really shifting for me. The healer, heal thyself. And I'll take that one step forward. In a different context, the human being, heal thyself is just as important. And as I went to school, I learned a lot about myself. I'd gone through my second divorce. I learned a lot about how much I was in denial. Didn't even know I was in it. Did my work, got into therapy, got my degree, and then when I came out, I started pursuing work doing mental health as a mental health clinician right here in Oakland with East Bay Agency for Children. This was new and exciting work that I was getting in the field to work with kids and in their trauma. And the fact that I had gone through a program where I had to do a lot of self-reflection in my own healing, I could really understand. And it was very easy to empathize with students. And as I was working counseling in schools, I was observing teachers being very punitive to students and re-traumatizing students. And that's when I thought, you know, I would prefer to work with staff and with teachers. And so I shifted my career. And that's what I've been doing for the last 6.5 years, working as a trauma-informed consultant at Frick Middle School, Frick United Academy of Language, and supporting staff to be more trauma-informed. And so I'm going to talk a little bit for a few minutes, and then we'll open this up, and if there's some questions, we can get to those. And so what does trauma-informed look like? Well, there's these 5 R's. It's realizing that there's a widespread impact of trauma, recognizing the signs and symptoms of trauma in others. It's not about what's wrong with you, but what happened. It's showing more compassion. It's learning to read the symptoms and be more caring. Responding by integrating knowledge about trauma into policies, procedures, and practices. And so I talk a lot with my colleagues who are clinicians with OUSD about how do we ramp up more trauma-informed schools. And I'll say a little bit more about that. And then we're resisting to not re-traumatize students. And then here's the big one for me is relationships. It's really about being trauma-informed and working with kids, working with those students is developing that relationship. That is so important. Because with trauma, the traumatized brain can easily get triggered, get re-traumatized, and then they leave the prefrontal cortex and go back into that amygdala. Now I'm in my warning zone. I'm in my fight, flight, or freeze, like that. And having teachers understand that kids can easily be re-traumatized, that there's a way to get them regulated and support them so that they can be more present now they can learn, right? So at my school site, I have a wellness room. This is where I do my check-ins with staff, and the check-ins are optional. But I see between 20 and 25 administrators and teachers every week at my school site, supporting them on their self-care. Sometimes the conversations are about classroom management best practices. I'm able to go to their classrooms and observe and give teacher feedback. So the work that I'm doing, I don't know if it's groundbreaking, but I know this, that there's not too many adults or clinicians or wellness consultants or coaches who are built into the school system right there. Now, I'm fortunate because I'm funded through East Bay Agency for Children, who got a grant from the Kaiser Foundation, and that grant actually ended in May, and the agency has negotiated with my school site to find some money to keep me there going forward. So I'll be going back in the fall to pursue this work. And there's a lot of work to do at the school site, but nonetheless, I just wanted to share with you what the wellness room looks like. The wellness room is really designed that when you come in, you get a chance to kind of regulate yourself. I'm able to offer tea. We can do a 15, 20-minute check-in, and sometimes those check-ins are a mindful moment, a cup of tea. And so I'll just share quickly some of the ways of what it looks like for me as a trauma-informed wellness consultant. Because that I'm built into the school system, I get to do ongoing trainings and follow-ups. I have the support of the principal. I get to do the weekly self-care check-ins. I designed a Mindful Leaders Club where students are learning about mindfulness, and so that mindful moment that I shared with you, they do a very similar version over the school announcements to start the day. And I attend to all the staff PDs. That's where I get to do the follow-up trainings and do self-care activities. And like the fun faces that I did with you, and there's a lot more activities that I'm able to do to support the teachers in a way to model their self-care practice, you know. And then because I'm at the school site, sometimes there's crisis, sometimes I'm checking in with students. And so working as a performer, doing the humor, and working at the school and doing the healing work, these are just two things that I'm just so passionate about and that I love. And at my school site, there's times where I've performed at my school site and bringing the comedy to the families who are attending the events at the school. So I'm able to use my other skill set, my other hat, in the school setting. And so I think I'll just bring it to a close right here. And I just want to say thank you so much for letting me share what it looks like as Unique Derique and Lance McGee, Trauma-Informed Wellness Consultant. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance, for being with us. I'm going to take a couple questions, and Lois Corin.
I hope I don't cry. Shout out to you, your mom, all the experiences you've had, and they're not direct paths in terms of what people think about, but I did internship teaching at East Oakland Pride, as it were, and I had a special day class. So one of the things I was able to get them to do was to perform, and actually in terms of political stuff, they're the only group that did that. So I was curious as to whether when you're working with your young people, as you're helping them with their healing and their traumas, and it's, Lord knows there's like way too many, do you have them perform as well?
Yeah. So at my school site, my main role is as the trauma consultant for staff. That's my main role, and working with students doing the mindfulness. So I'm not doing so much direct performing with them, but I also work at Prescott School in West Oakland as part of the Prescott Circus Theater. I've been with them as artists in residence for the last 24 years.
All right.
We practice mindfulness there. We do the clowning. We talk about humor. We talk about performing on stilts, being on your higher ground and being in your higher self. They're getting more direct services around the healing because that's every day. And we're in training right now to get ready for our big show.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And we know that our educators and our administrators, they need the help as much as all of us do. So blessings.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank you, Lois. Do we have a question online? I'll give one question online if there's one there. Is there? No? Okay. One more question in here? I have one, and then since I have the mic for one more minute. So I took a clowning class for about a semester, and part of that was to put on this, I didn't have a great face, but it was a red nose and like, and to spend the whole day walking around town with that face. It's putting on a new face. What's it like to create a new face and interact with the world?
Yeah, so traditional circuses like Ringling Brothers, they do the full mask. European clowns do half mask. That's what I liked about Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, that they didn't wear makeup. They relied on their own expressions. And so that's the road that I took in performing in clowning. But when I started off in clowning, I used to wear the makeup, and it's very hot. Putting on the grease paint, then the nose, you can hardly breathe. It's a lot. And so, but I prefer to work without the makeup and just find the humor in the full body and using your own expressions of some of the things that we were doing, so that when I perform, I'm telling the story through my body without the makeup.
Yeah, well, maybe I wasn't that unique walking around Berkeley with my red nose and clown face. But I remember going into Cheese Board, and there used to be the fish market right next door and ordering, and it was interesting being behind a...
Yeah.
Okay, Lance, thank you. This year we're highlighting the new Rotary area of focus, the environment. In your honor, we're making a donation to the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, SRAG, towards their focus on biodiversity, sustainable living, pollution, the climate, food systems, and a circular economy. Thank you so much for being a part of our Civic Thursday Club meeting. Thank you, Lance.
Thank you very much.
And having just said that, of course, I go through people that I didn't thank. Robert Kidd and the Speaker Committee, thank you so much for coming up with great programs every week after week. Robert and David and Allie and Steve, I mean, you were just that's the backbone of our meetings. And so, we couldn't do it without you. Thank you. Okay, folks. Thank you, Sean Marx, for Joycey. You'd like to ring the bell for an outgoing president. Okay, thank you, Joycey. Tom Lamone, thank you. Is that Stephanie or Carrie under there? Stephanie, okay, thank you. There's Stephanie and there's Carrie, thank you. Georgia, thank you. Georgia Richardson, Joe Garak, I have to say this before we, Pat Williams, Bob Barth, Linda Bozanecker, Keith Uriarty, Robert Kidd, it's Pam Clausen, I'm sorry, mass time, right? Thank you. Deep, I'm going to learn to say that, Raj Banjari. Is that close enough? Okay, thank you, Deep. Alex Polson, Rick Draper, Ralph Sklar. Okay, Bruce Nye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And folks, it's been such a pleasure. It's been an honor. I thank you. I want to thank everybody, the meeting production team. Remember, we're Rotary. Serve to change lives. Don't keep Rotary a secret. And the last time you'll hear me do this meeting, no? Oh, we got it. Okay, where is Michael? Oh, there's Michael. I intentionally went over this one. Michael, would you like to tell us about next week?
I absolutely do. Soon to be former President Dudley. As you heard, this is it for Dudley. He has no further control over these meetings. The past presidents take over next week. I have our super secret script, the motion script right here. Don't look. We're going to have a lot of fun. Please come here in the ballroom. Past President Carla is shopping for special cookies for everybody. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to, as soon as Dudley rings the bell today, we're going to pry this gavel out of his hand. It's gonna take 2 or 3 of us probably come next week and honor President Dudley. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And for the last time, this meeting is adjourned.